Now, I thought it'd be fun to invite a lot of people. Don't make it through years and years of marriage. Things happen. I thought it'd be fun to have a marriage and family counselor in to kind of, before the wedding, maybe talk about a little what you should watch out for, how you should approach things. And our guest is Rachel McDermott, all the way from Visalia.
Yes.
I always say this show's about what's good about Fresno, but it's the whole valley. Visalia, we have a lot of Tulare, Porterville, a lot of people come from that area. So people are getting married. What should they think about?
Well, when you get married, you're entering into a relationship that's very unique and different from all other relationships we have in life. It's an equal power relationship. Every other relationship has some kind of hierarchy, boss or your teacher-student.
Teacher-student, you said that earlier. I'm thinking teacher-student. You leave, you go home at night, right? But marriage is different.
Yeah, I mean, even siblings have a birth order hierarchy. So when you enter a marriage, you have to really be aware that you are equals in this marriage. And the first few years of a marriage, oftentimes people fight for power and control because they want to tell the other person what to do, or we're going to go to church this Sunday, or you have to do this, or whatever it is, we get on this teeter-totter of power and control. And so we have to be really mindful and be aware that this person that we're marrying has just as much, they're still an adult and they don't want to be told what to do. Even if it's their chore to take out the trash, they don't want to be told to take out the trash. And we have to learn how to adjust to being in a relationship which has, and balancing it. What happens is if one of the parties pulls power and control, like I had a couple one time that the husband wanted dinner on the table as soon as he got home. And if he didn't have it on the table, he would get very upset. And apparently he didn't like pepper in his food. So they'd been married for about 25 years, and she knew this. Yeah. So he would come in the house, if the food wouldn't be on the table, he'd throw kind of a fit. And so he would have all the power and control. Well, what she would do is she would accidentally put pepper in the food when she was cooking it. So then she got the power and control. Okay, and so what happens is we can go back and forth like this, and it's a subconscious thing we do. Often it's passive aggressive, like what she was doing. She looked at me and she said, "Rachel, I swear I forgot and I accidentally peppered the food."
25 years.
Yeah, and you know what? It's true. She did forget because it's subconscious. So what I always tell people is you don't want to be up here. You don't want to pull rank on your spouse, because the person that's up here, I promise you, the person down here is going to do something you're not going to like to flip it.
But most of you are telling people this 25 years after they got married. Now you're saying it before. When you go into this wedding, think about this.
Yes, go into the marriage and know that we're equals. We don't get to tell the other person what to do. We have to be mindful of our time and their time. So if you used to go on your trip every year to wherever with your friends, it's not about telling the other person, this is what I'm doing. You have to be mindful and say, just out being polite. Do you mind if I continue to do this? It's not that you're asking them permission. It's just a way to kind of balance power and control.
When you're getting married, you're not thinking about who's going to do the dishes and who's going to take out the trash. It doesn't enter your mind, I would imagine.
Make and we don't get to tell somebody you have to do the dishes or it's your turn. We need to ask, hey, could you help me with the dishes? Or if I make dinner, will you do the dishes? And like, even if it's known that it's your chore to take out the trash.
Right. Well, it's worse if you know it's your chore and then they tell you to do it. Like, it's very simple. My wife and I just worked out. I feel I was good at vacuuming. I was bad at a lot of housekeeping things, and she was good at it. So I did what I could. I washed the dishes. I mean, there's not a lot to explain or figure out there. Vacuum, and so we just, our chores just kind of fell on each of us. But it was sure a growing thing for years and years.
Yeah.
We had no agreements, I would say. We have no agreements,
That's very important. And also, I tell people, if something's important to you, more important to one person, then you need to take the A for it. Take accountability for it. So if it's really important for you to have the yard done and not say it's really important to the wife for the yard to look pristine, and it's not that important to the husband, then the wife really needs to take responsibility. And it doesn't mean that she has to mow. I mean, she could hire a landscaper or she can direct the kids to do it.
That's what she wants.
Yes,
makes
so
her
if
happy.
it's important. if it's important to you, you need to take accountability for it, and you can't demand the other person do it.
But doesn't all this is coming through trial and error and working through it for years and years? Would it be a bad idea for people to sit down before they got married and
It would be an
talk to a
excellent
counselor?
idea.
And,
Yes.
you know?
And like you said, come up with the agreements
Yeah.
and decide, big decisions where we're going to live, where we're going to raise our family.
If we're going to
gonna have
kids,
children.
people get married. Oh, you didn't want kids, and they're married now. That happens.
Yes,
I guess.
yes.
Well, that keeps people like you in business. Gives people need to talk to somebody. They go to Rachel McDermott. So, what's LMFT stand for?
It stands for Licensed Marriage and Family Therapist. And in McDermott Counseling, there are 5 of us therapists. Yes.
They don't just give those out. You have to have some qualifications.
Yeah, well, it's a master's degree and then 3,000-hour internship, residency kind of.
3,000, that's like a year, I would think.
Oh, it's about 3,
3
yeah.
years of internship and learning under a master, so to speak.
So I have some associates that are working towards their license that work for me. And so for every 10 hours of psychotherapy they perform, I have to sit with them for an hour and discuss their cases.
Go over it with them. Huh?
And so the 3,000 hours is actually 3,000 hours of psychotherapy performed. It's not just a 40-hour work week.
Right. Now that's that's nice of you doing that. You don't have to do that, and you're bringing
I
up
love
the
doing
next
it.
bringing up the next level. So now, so we're talking about people getting married and what some expectations. And I always think that people should go get some counseling before they get married. I'm sure it rarely or never happens. But who generally needs counseling? Where do people go in their life? Is it families with kids, or is it husbands and wives?
We see all kinds of. We have people that specialize in. Depression, anxiety, trauma. So we do a lot of individual therapy, probably more individual therapy actually than even couples and family therapy. And we also work with children. And when we work with children, obviously we're working with their parents quite a bit. We have the therapist that pretty much specializes in everything. So suicidal teenagers, basically just any kind of emotional or relationship issue you have, you can just come in and...
Let's talk trauma for a second. I'm reading a book about a Secret Service agent. It's a true story. He was feet away from the president when he got shot and killed. And, and he says, well, there's no trauma, no counseling. And he said, of course we had post-traumatic stress syndrome. They didn't even know what that was back then. But how important is it for people who go through a trauma to go talk to somebody?
Oh, my gosh. Post-traumatic stress disorder is... it often leads to substance abuse. Some of the symptoms are night terrors or flashbacks or just hypervigilance. If somebody comes too near, you have a startle response.
So anybody who goes through a trauma like that, or any kind of serious trauma, or they see their best friend get hit and killed by a car, they should go see
Absolutely.
Everybody should then.
Yes, absolutely. And I think everybody should go to therapy at some point just to get to know who they are and set their goals and decide what path they want to take in life, and
just help get somebody who's done it hundreds and thousands of times to help lead you through some things, because we always have something. Everybody has something, I would imagine.
I've been to therapy. Yes.
I love it when a therapist says they've been to therapy.
All of us that work there have been to therapy. It's important. I have actually required my associates to do some therapy to work on themselves too, to make sure. Sometimes we might have countertransference with a client where a client might bring up an issue for us. So it's really important that we are healthy as the mental health provider also.
Right.
And we do take insurance, health insurance.
Nice. Yeah. A lot of insurances cover that.
Yes, they do.
What about kids? Should all kids, maybe teenagers, just go talk to somebody? I mean, they don't all, well, I guess maybe they do all have some kind of little problem or issue that they're worried about. Yeah,
some teenagers, it's usually about, they're struggling for independence a lot, like we talked about the power and control. Yeah. So they're like birds, the tighter we try to hold on to them as parents, the harder they flap their wings. Yeah. So a lot of times transitioning into adulthood is very difficult for the whole family because they're fighting for power and control. So we need to teach the parents how to give power and control to the child in areas that are safe for them so that they could learn and grow when they're younger and make mistakes, letting our teenagers make mistakes, because the cost of making a mistake when you're younger is much more affordable than when you're older. If you blow your allowance, no big deal. But if you blow your paycheck, you can't pay your rent. Right. And so
Now, there used to be quite a stigma on going to therapy. Is that kind of gone away?
It's interesting because I do see a lot of teenagers, and it's kind of a cool thing now. Mm-hmm. They say, yeah, I'm going to see my shrink today. And we're not shrinks, but it's turned out to be, teenagers don't mind.
Now, when I was a kid, in the 1960s, you probably weren't even born then, there was bullying. And there's no therapist. People didn't take their kids to therapists in those days.
No, they didn't.
Help it out. But I bet that could be a help to people.
Very helpful. I've worked with a lot of teens that have been bullied. And with the internet, I'm so glad it wasn't around when I was a teenager because the bullying online is
See, in
just
my day, we had
so
to do our
painful.
bullying in person. There was no internet.
Yeah, and it's easy to hide behind a phone and type things, and kids are even meaner when they don't have to face, bully face to face. So I always tell parents to make sure and monitor your kids, social media, because sometimes a parent will find out that their child's suicidal because they've gone on their Instagram and seen that they've made a post, and then they bring them in to see me. And that's really important. Suicide is so it's so prevalent these days, and teenagers, being as impulsive as they are really at high risk.
Yeah. We had a little cluster out at one of the high schools in Clovis, for a little while there.
It's contagious.
Go talk to somebody. Call Rachel McDermott or McDermott Counseling and talk to somebody, you guys. Get your parents, they're worried about their kid, they're quiet or moody, and they don't know what their kid's doing. Maybe a counselor can get through and figure out.
Yeah. We also help people with grief if they've lost a loved one. Or
people should get counseling. Like I said, through a trauma or grief, they should probably do that.
Definitely. Take care of yourself.
In the old days, it was just tough it out, and it was tough. Anyway, we're running out of time. I could talk like this all night. You're a fun person to talk to. Any last thing you want our viewers to know? Or?
No, just give us a call if you need any help.
Now, you have a website up there, McDermottCounseling.com. What would they find on the website?
Just a different, the therapists, the providers that we have, and little blurbs of what their specialties are. And so you would get an idea of who you might want to schedule an appointment with.
I just thought of a term that we could call it normalizing therapy. Now it's a normal thing to go to therapy.
It
and
is.
Probably a lot more people should and should feel good about it. And if you're thinking of getting married, it wouldn't hurt to go talk. Go to a couple sessions with Rachel McDermott, McDermott Counseling in Visalia. Where in Visalia are you?
We're right behind the Rawhide Ballpark on the corner of Center and Giddings. So 1220 West Center Avenue, yeah.
And can you give out the phone number? It's on the screen.
Yes, it's 280-5756.
Well, I think we're going to have you back on other shows, and this is great. I feel better just talking to you. Just sitting by Rachel McDermott, I feel better. We'll be back with more Central Valley Talk right after this.
Thanks.